We have special guest Dean Vasquez today, so we're definitely going to be learning a lot. Now I'd just like to start by giving a brief background of his credentials and why we're so happy to have him here today.
He's a boss.
Dean Alex Vasquez is a graduate of the State University of New York at Albany, with a master's in educational administration and policy studies. Throughout his 13-year career in higher education administration, he has worked within student affairs, academic affairs, and institutional diversity. Dean Vasquez will graduate with his PhD from Boston College in 2014. Alex Vasquez has been the Associate Dean of Academic and Campus Life at Wheaton College for 11 years.
Damn.
He is now the Dean of Academic Advising and Academic Success at Wheaton College. Currently, he's involved in strategy consulting, particularly connected to cross-divisional collaborations, diversity management, and student leadership and empowerment. We are incredibly honored and thankful to have Dean Vasquez here with us today. And we are very excited to hear what he has to say, enriching us with his perspectives and past experiences.
Once again, on behalf of Starbucks, we thank you, Dean Vasquez, for being with us tonight. So just to start off, we asked them a question about your past. Could you please describe in brief the path you took that led you to become the Dean for Advising and Academic Success at Wheaton College?
I think people come into the field of student affairs and they sort of stumble in by mistake. You did really something really bad as a college student, and you end up being a college dean to sort of pay you back. And I sort of went into it in a really different way. Lots of people that come into the field end up being RAs or end up being really involved on campuses and say, oh, that'd be a great field. And then they sort of find their way in graduate school, blah, blah, blah. And I really wasn't that kind of student. I was a two-sport athlete in college, and so I was really into athletics. That's sort of what I did. And after my first year, one of the things I had that I always sort of, I think sometimes miss in this generation of college students is that I didn't meet a whole lot of adults as college students who sort of look up to. We had upper class students that were, I went to big institutions, so lots of folks were a lot older than me, but I had upper class students that I really looked up to. And there were two people in particular that were mentors of mine at the time. One ended up being my college roommate, the other was a person who did sort of like the work that I do now, and it's Tony Torres. And he was somebody who really sort of taught me the ropes. When I got to college, I had lots of questions about why I was supposed to be there, what was important about it, how I could be successful. And he was somebody that I could go in and close the door and ask all my crazy questions to, and figure out, how to, traverse some of those hurdles that all of you may see while you're here at college. And so it's no walk in the park, but he was somebody that I was really comfortable with. He gave me my first job in college. I worked in the Office of Student Services, and so I was introduced early to the needs of students at a fairly large university. Albany was like 12 to 13,000 undergraduates, 20,000 students total. So the graduate students, law students, medical students, was a really different environment than being at Wheaton. So I got to see a lot while I was there, and I realized what an important time period this was for folks. I think it's a really privileged population that even goes to college, and I think people believe that once you get there, you're fine. You'll graduate, you'll figure it out, and you'll be successful. And lots of people don't realize how difficult that 4 years or 5 years can be. I went to a large public institution. Lots of students didn't graduate in 4 years. That almost never happens at a place like Wheaton. And so when you look at the kind of help that college students need, it was something that I really wanted to be engaged in. When I left my undergraduate institution, I moved back to New York City and worked for about a year. Came back to Albany, got my master's in educational administration, and then left higher education altogether. I've always had sort of a business bug and sort of an entrepreneurial bug, and I felt like I needed to scratch that itch before going back into higher education. So I moved to New York. I moved back to New York, which is home. I did a number of different things. I worked for the Coach Company. I worked for a consulting firm for probably 3.5 years, and then I came back into higher education and felt like this was really where I wanted to be. But I had to have that time period to say, okay, what's the business world like? What's corporate life like? And I really enjoyed it. I did really, really interesting work. I did lots of corporate consulting. I did lots of technology consulting. And going in, I knew nothing about those things, so it was great to sort of climb the ranks and sort of learn it and get on the consulting team, etc. But every one of the people that I worked with in the corporate environment when they heard I was going back to higher education were completely jealous. And the reason that was important is because when you work in the corporate environment, oftentimes you realize that at the end of the day, your job is to make money for somebody else, right? So how much money can the company bill because of the time that I put into X project? And that just wasn't enough of a payoff for me. You know, I felt like it would be important for me to contribute something to college students and to, you know, the youth that we were going to grow and develop at the time. And I was fairly young when I got back into higher ed. I was 26 and took a job at Wheaton University and stayed there about 4 years. Was asked to be dean of first year students and chose to leave and come to Wheaton, and have been here ever since.
So, hey guys, because we understand that throughout your day you have a lot of responsibilities as dean. So, what are some of those responsibilities that you have as dean or advising at Wheaton College?
You know, I do a couple things. You know, I think on the advising side, any number of things could walk in the door. From sort of student concerns around faculty, working with students to do some academic planning so that they can be successful, to students who are saying, I want to go to graduate school. So there's lots of one-on-one student work that happens. On the other end of it, I do lots of work around college retention and making sure that the college student experience is the right kind of experience, the kind of experience that we want to have, so that students remain at Wheaton and do the things that they want to do once they graduate. And that work is really different. You know, that work is a combination of one-on-one work with students, but it's also a lot of data analysis. It's lots of meetings with other administrators on campus to figure out what is it about the student experience that we want to change, how do we improve it, and that's everything from residence calls to financial aid to institutional fit. You know, so a student comes in and says, I can't find my niche. We've got to think about, why can't that student find a niche? Does their niche exist here? Is there a way for us to change the campus culture in a way so that that niche is able to really flourish and students can be comfortable here? So I really enjoy the one-on-one work with students. I enjoy the rest of it as well, but I think where I get my batteries recharged after looking at lots of data, lots of spreadsheets, et cetera, is when I get to do the one-on-one work with students. So when Kalu and I meet about graduating and figuring out what to do, I love that conversation. You know, I love the conversation that says, what do I want to do when I get out of here? Or when I meet with students who are applying for lots of fellowships or things like that, that one-on-one work, that you sort of see what are students going to do when they go, and what the Wheaton education will give to them. That's really where I get my batteries recharged.
I don't do this for this house, no.
Yes, you should. Yes, you should. You've been promising that for like 2 years.